Hi. Today we're going to build a Java GUI form that connects to a database and runs an interactive query. Our form, when it runs, will look like this. I have a drop-down box. At the drop, I have a bunch of authors. These authors are populated from my database. I pick an author, and a book appears. I pick a different author, their books appear. We're doing all of this using SQL and connecting to a MySQL database. Along the way, we're going to correctly build classes for the database and classes for the responses from the SQL. All right, so I'm going to stop out of my finished one, build myself a new project, call mine Henry GUI Connect. I need to go to the project itself, and if you recall, I need to go to its properties, I need to go to the library, I need to add a library, and once it pops up, I need to find the MySQL JDBC library. MySQL, of course, is my database engine of choice. JDBC is the Java database connectivity. Definitely should be a part of your NetBeans. If it's not, you can Google that driver and just add the jar using this button. So I add the library. Okay, I have the ability to do this. I'm going to use Matisse, which is the Java's built-in GUI editor, to make my project. So I need to lose my main. So I'm going to right-click it and delete my main. I'm going to right-click source my package here, my Henry GUI Connect package. I'm going to do new, and what I want to find is JFrameForm. You may not see it there if you haven't used it, so if it's not there, just go to other, go to Java, and you should be able to find JFrameForm. If it's not there, check other. There it is, under Swing GUI Forms, JFrameForm. Next, give it a name. We call it the Henry GUI. What you get is a screen that allows you to drag and drop objects. It's a lot like the Visual Studio screen if you've worked with that. I want some labels, which should give me eye candy. So drag a label over here. I'm going to right click and say edit text. I'm going to say author name. I'll pull another label over, put it over here, rename it, edit text, book and price. For my interactive objects, I want a combo box. Drag it under here under author name. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. I'm also going to pull these guys over to the left a little bit just to have some screen real estate. And then book and price, I'm going to use a list for that. I'm dragging them to the edges so that if I resize my screen, they fit. I'm going to name these guys, click on my combo box, right click it, change variable name. I'm going to call it author combo. And I'm going to call this object, which is my list box, right click again, change variable name, and call it book list. They're currently populated with items, which I need to get rid of. If I run this, it asks me what to run. Just pick OK. I run this, I hit the drop, item 1, 2, 3, 4, item 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over here. I need these to go away. So I'm going to select my combo box. Actually, you know what? I'm going to hold off on that. I need to do something first. When I go to populate this drop-down box with the items from my database, I need a class. So if I take a look at XAMPP, and I see that MySQL is up and running, I go to the shell. Log in. This is my databases. I see that Henry Books is the name of my database. I'll open it by using it. I'll list my tables, and I see I've got author there. If I describe author, I have the fields of author num, author last, author first. In order for me to correctly get the information out of the Maria database into Java, you should build a Java class for this. In other environments, you might hear the phrase POJO, plain old Java object. That's what I'm going to build for author. I'm going to build a Java object that it has an author num first and last name in the same order that it is in my file. That way I can very easily use setters, getters, and constructors to hold on to data. So back in my NetBeans, right-click on my package, I'm going to do a new class, and I'm going to call this thing author. When I need an author, and I would recommend you put them in the same order they are in your class. I'm going to recreate the fields. This matches the structure of my table. I'm going to end up generating a list of authors using this object. I'm going to create my setters and getters, right-click, insert code. I'm going to pick my getters and setters, generate some constructors. Again, right-click, insert code, constructor. I'll do the default one, and another constructor with all three fields. Pay attention to the order of your constructor. I set mine up so the exact same order of my class, num last first, num last first. If you don't do that, you just have to remember the order. It gets a little weird. Now I need a toString. I don't like the one that they give you, but I'm going to steal it anyway just to start it. It returns this really big string. That's okay sometimes, but in this scenario, my toString is going to end up being what's displayed in my combo box. So I'm going to delete this return, and I'm going to display the author's first name and the last name. And this should be lowercase. Again, this should be displayed in the JCombo box at runtime. So you make this look however you want, make it simple so the human beings can deal with it. So I built my class, and I'm going to now use this class. Go back to my Henry GUI. I'm going to select my author name. Or excuse me, select the JCombo box for author name. I need to modify it. So I've selected, I'm going to go over here to code on the right-hand side, which is the properties. If that's not visible, you can find that under Window, and properties are up there. I'm going to go to code, and then down below code, I have this type parameters. This is the data type that's stored in the JCombo box. I want to adjust that. I don't want it to be string. I'm going to make it be my class. I'm going to do that so that I can store author objects in the Dropdown box. By storing an author object, I get all three of those properties. I get the author num, the author last, and the author first on Dropdown. I don't have to play games of ifing the last name is King, then the author number is this. It's all there in the objects. Those objects will be read out of my database and will populate that Dropdown box. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to properties of this guy. This model that's here currently has strings. That'll cause a big error if I try to run this. So I'm going to click the little ellipse button next to item 1, 2, 3, 4, highlight these guys, and nuke them. Okay, so I save it. There's nothing in my drop-down box now. If I run it, look, nothing there. We're going to populate this from my database. So now I'm going to go to code for this. So I'm going to click on my source button here upper left-hand corner. This takes me to the back end. Since I used Matisse to generate this project, I get a lot of code. You'll see here this little generated code that jumps from line 27 to 85. All the objects on my screen are created here. Anything that's blue in this environment you can't change and edit, so just leave it alone. Okay, so I'm going to create several methods. I'm also going to create several public variables. So I'm going to create a method called fill dropdown. It's going to do exactly what it says it's going to fill the dropdown. I'm going to call it here in this public Henry GUI, the constructor for my Henry GUI, after init components. Init components puts the objects in the screen, fills them with default values. I'm going to call after this. If any of your methods interact with an object on the screen, they have to be done after init components is run. So I'm going to start, and I'm going to put just a little message to the user there. I'm going to create an object type author. I'm going to fill it with just the direction. Now, my class is going to take -1 as an author number, which doesn't exist in my database, so I can safely use it. It's going to pick select author name as the last name, and then there's not going to be a first name. So my job combo box will say select author name, comma, when it's done. Now, I need to be able to add this to my combo box. Now, I'm halfway there. The combo box is ready to accept objects of type author, but I need to create a combo box model that supports this. So I'm going to create a new default combo box model, and it's going to hold authors. We call it author model. These are generic, so I'm passing in the data type of author. It's yelling at me because I need a import, so I'm going to right-click and fix imports. And this gets added in for me. So default combo box model author, called author model, equal new default combo box model, again, typecast to author. This is going to allow me to modify my drop-down box. I'm now going to link this to my drop-down box, right here again in init components. I'm going to say this is an author combo, which is my dropdown. .set model, and we're holding on author model. Okay. By linking this as I've done, any changes I make to author model are automatically going to be displayed in the dropdown box. Fill dropdown is going to fill it up for me. And I'll come back to fill dropdown, and I'm going to add it to my author model. Okay, let's see what I've done. Let's do a run. Let's do a run. It says select an author. I need more screen real estate, but you see that I definitely have a dropdown there. When I select this, I actually get back this author with a author number of -1, a last name of author name, and then no first name. So I need some screen real estate. I'm going to go back to my design screen. So let me widen this up a little bit. Whatever space you need, take. Right, save, go back to my source. All right, so now I need to fill that combo box with author names. And that's going to be done here in fill dropdown Before I do so, I'm going to create a new method called public void connect database. I'm going to set up my database model in such a way that every time I need to run a query, I reconnect the database. That's a little expensive on my end from connection costs, but it's cheaper than maintaining the connection to the database all the time. That will slow down your database server and make your DBAs very angry. So we're going to connect every time we need to do a query and then close right out. So I'm creating this method so that I can call it again as needed. I'm going to need a bunch of variables up here before I pull this off. And these are standard connection stuff. Private statements, SQL statements. Again, this allows me to execute. The result set. This holds the results of the queries I run. I'm going to create the URL here so I don't have to keep typing again. JDBC:/MySQL:/localhost, :3306, and then I'm going to do a slash and connect to my database. That's the name of my database. So if I look at it back here, I can see that my database name is Henry Books. If yours is Joe Bob Briggs, then you do slash Joe Bob Briggs. Please watch your spelling, JDBC, MySQL, /127001, port 3306, name of the database. If your port number is different, which you can see here, make sure you stick to your ports. Otherwise, you won't connect. I will fix these errors here in a moment. I'm going to add a connection. That's all I need right now. Yeah, that's all I need right now. Cool. So I'm going to right-click, fix my imports. You want to make sure you pick all the Java SQL stuff. They may look the same, but they don't act the same. So if I were to have the Java SQL there and an MSQL SQL there, they would not likely work with one another. So we picked all the Java.SQL stuff. Cool. Errors are gone. I'm now going to connect to my database. I'm going to use the title of my form, which is up here, is currently blank. Let me know if it connects or not. It's just going to be a way for me to know that I'm connected to my database. I'm going to assume that I connect. So that's just going to be a flag for me. And we know these things throw a whole bunch of exceptions. I'm going to be lazy here and just catch them all at once. I'm going to display them. And if there's an error, I'm going to exit. Return error number of 1. Fix my imports again. So if something happens up here, it's simply going to tell me what the problem is and then die. If it gets to the try, it'll say connected up at the top, so I know that I've connected it. So inside here, I need to load up the class, connect to the database, and build the statements. If you have the stuff you've done before, you can just copy this because it doesn't change. I'm just simply making it reusable. And I can use spell name correctly. XAMPP, which is what I'm using here, its default is no password. See if I'm missing an imports. Yes, so it's missing an import for driver manager. That's this guy. And now I'm going to do the statements. This, again, the SQL statement allows me to execute queries. So connect database is going to connect to my database. It's going to run the class, build a connection, generate a statement. It doesn't do anything except connect. I'm going to let fill Dropdown do something with that connection. So down here in my Henry GUI, no, look at this here. I lied. Get out of Henry GUI. Go back up to fill Dropdown, and I'll start it here. I'll call my connect database. Let's do a quick run, make sure everything connects. I must have spelled something wrong for JDBC. I missed a slash. So JDBC :MySQL //42701 :3306 / Henry books. See if I got it this time. Life is good. It says connected. I know I've connected to my database. If you don't connect your database, pause now, solve the problem. All right, so I'm going to move on because I've connected. We create a SQL statement. I'm pulling all 3 fields from author. It's a nice small table. Nobody's going to get mad at you for pulling 3 fields from a table. I'm going to use this inside of my try. The exception that could occur here is a SQL exception. Fix my imports. And I'm going to, again, take this to the option pane, throw it in here so I know what the problem is. If there's a problem, I'm just going to return out. It's yelling at me because nothing in the try that throws this stuff. This will fire if you misspell something like select or author or from. This will fire whenever you do something wrong in SQL. It'll try to help you. It's not overly helpful. Your best bet is to copy this, if it's not working, copy this, go back to your MySQL outputs, and right-click, paste it in usually. This time it doesn't. Copy. There it is. I pasted it in, and it works. If it works here, it'll work there. If it doesn't work over here, it's never going to work in Java. Don't be that person that says my code is perfect when your SQL doesn't work. So inside my try, I'm going to execute the query. Result will hold my authors because I know that it works already. I'll walk through them with the while loop. Result will hold an author num, an author last, and author first. I'll reuse my and author up here. And I'm going to get items out of here. I like to use get int with the name, and the first one is author number. If you don't know what it is, make sure you go back to here and look at the names. Just to be paranoid, I want to make sure I capitalize these. So author number is the first thing in my constructor. I'm going to get a string, which would be author last, and then another string, author first. Make sure your orders of these are correct. Num, last, first. I look at my class. Num, last, first. It's really embarrassing when you flip-flop those. So I've built an object of my class. I'm now going to add that to my model. So my while loop is generating an object of type author, and then adding that object of type author to my class. When I add the object of type author to my class, I get all the variable names in my class. So now I'm going to close the database because, as I said, I'm going to do a connection every time I want to rewrite a query. So if I've done everything correctly, save, I'm going to run. I have all my authors from the database. Very cool. Okay, I'm going to stop the video here so that it's not too long, and then I'll pick this up in my next video. So at this point, we've managed to get a drop-down box populated from a MySQL database.